Somewhere in this area, Autumn Savoy helped dispose of evidence related to the Mount Vernon murder.
I'll be perfectly honest, I wanted to kill someone for a long time.
He was bouncing and jumping around, but he had said that he had killed 2 people.
And you watched them both attack those people, didn't you?
Yes.
Did you once, just once, try and stop them?
No. Steve and I are very similar, Steve and Spader. Technically, we're both sociopaths.
I saw a young girl laying on the floor. I observed that she was completely covered in blood from her head to her toe.
A thrill kill that ended up being a key to a secret organization that fantasized slashing the human body into pieces. The Mount Vernon thrill killing. The small town of Mount Vernon, New Hampshire feared that the many killings that had entangled the town couldn't be stopped as the killers seemed to be brutal and cunning. After looking into the details, police understood that they were dealing with a pure psychopath who was still on the loose. Get ready to get a whiff of a twisted and gore reality that rocked a small town and police for a while. In most of the brutal killings, the killers were mostly subjected to childhood trauma or certain brutal events in life. But can anyone truly kill anyone and fantasize every kill with absolutely no remorse? A tranquil home that hosted the Cates family, which included David, his wife Kimberly, and their 11-year-old daughter, had no idea that they were stepping into the most horrible day of their life. David was an engineer, and Kimberly loved her job as a pediatric nurse. David used to stay away from the home for work and had installed an alarm system for security. However, on the night of the tragic incident, the alarm malfunctioned and led to a crime that went unnoticed. Around 8:30 p.m., Kimberly informed David that they were going to bed. Around 4 a.m. in the morning, police received a call. A squealing and a faint voice of a girl was heard on the other side. She was crying for help with whatever energy she had left. The police soon arrived at the spot and began searching outside the home. The city of Mount Vernon had little idea that they were waking up to a blood-curdling murder new. On October 4th, 2004, police were taken aback by the brutality in which they found 42-year-old Kimberly Cates' dead body. Kimberly succumbed to death in a tragic and painful way. She was stabbed and slashed with a machete around 32 times. Her face, torso, and left leg were disfigured and were hard to look at. Meanwhile, Jamie, who was her 11-year-old child, was fighting for her life, which was barely hanging on by a thread. Jamie was not given the consideration of being a small child and fell victim to a psychotic killer who killed for no particular motive but mere fantasy. Jamie, who was soaked in blood when she was found, was also stabbed several times in her right lung and back. To the police's horror, some portions of her left foot were missing, which was stripped off using a sharp weapon. Jamie escaped a horrific death. Did the killer have mercy on her? No, the child was smart enough to escape the tragedy by playing dead. The killer left the crime spot and had no idea that one of their victims survived the horror that befell them. Who killed the duo? What was the motive? These questions take us to a rather terrifying secret that we didn't sign up for. When questioned, Jamie revealed that some guy had a knife and another one had a bat and he hit my mum. She also revealed that one was bold and ordered the rest to take any jewelry they could find. It was then found that the deranged plan involved 4 teenagers who were a gang named Disciples of Destruction. The mastermind behind the cold homicide was a 17-year-old teenager named Steven Spader and his lifelong best friend, 19-year-old Christopher Gribble. Although this was Spader's plan, Gribble was the one who suggested that a homicide would be a great addition to the senseless plan.
You're a careful criminal, right?
Yes.
Spader had always wanted to form a gang. He even brought in newbies to the group that he would later relish most disturbing bits of the thrill kill. Gribble always had a curiosity about how it would feel to kill a person. His fantasy led the 4-membered gang to do the worst deed in their life. Billy Marks and Quinn Glover were others who joined this bizarre gang to explore darkest fantasies. The story goes like this. On the day of the tragedy, the assailants decided to go on a home invasion. That's when they spotted Kimberly's home that was located a bit remote to the town. They decided it would be a perfect place for a burglary and sneaked in. When they got inside the house, they turned the power off and each of them had sharp weapons. By removing the air conditioner, they got access to the house. While Stephen and Gribble crawled in, others stood guard. Bill wasn't entirely into the murder plot, but he couldn't summon for help when the carnage was going on. The thuds and screams felt too much for him to take in, and his mind kept telling him to stop this psychopath friend. But he didn't have the courage to face a demon who stood there relishing each strike. Before kickstarting the bizarre plan, Steve already informed the team that he has found a home out of the middle of nowhere that they were just going in for an invasion. However, it ended up being a conspiracy. Glover also felt the whole brutality quite horrifying that he would close his eyes when he heard the thud of weapon each time. Another teenager, 19-year-old Autumn Savoy, was their strong alibi that would prove that they were present in a different place all along if the plan failed. As soon as they got in the house, they grabbed Jermaine's iPad and used it as a light to enter the master bedroom. Gribble was in front and the rest followed him to the bedroom. Stephen came forward and opened the bedroom door. He didn't even flinch after realizing there were people inside the room. Instead, he began behaving a bit relaxed and started talking comfortably as well. Kimberly woke up as the light shined in her face, but she thought it was Jermaine. Kimberly panicked as she didn't get any response and attempted to turn on the lamp while asking who was out there. That's when Steve gave her the first blow on her head with a machete.
The mother said something like, "Jamie, is that you?" Stevie threw the light.
The panicked voice soon turned into a wailing. Gribble now stepped in and stabbed her several times in the chest. As Kimberly was gurgling, Steve took pleasure in it and completely lost it. Gribble was relatively standing ground compared to Steve. The two other lads stood by the door and did nothing. Now, Jermaine woke up and sensed something was wrong. She jumped right into Christopher Gribble's arm and he stabbed her once in the face while it hit the bone and skipped off. He then went on to stab her right in the chest area and tried to get a better shot at piercing through her heart. Gribble says that it was so natural that he had the instinct to do so. A survival instinct kicked in and Jermaine tried snapping out of Gribble's arms. Stephen, on the other hand, kept on hacking at the bed ferociously, such that the rest of the gang felt that he could attack them as well. Jermaine, in the process, knocked her head onto the glass table and stopped moving, so they thought she was dead. Gribble stated that Steve looked like he came right from a Halloween, and he had a machete soaked in blood, which even scared him. Steve then kicked Jermaine over and over with a steel-toe boot and threw a blow at her head with a machete. A terrible murderous tendency took over Steve, and he was relishing his kill. At that point, they knew that the mother was not going to make it. Since Jermaine had several fatal injuries and was blood-soaked, they thought that she wouldn't make it as well.
The mom was obviously not going to make it. The girl I was pretty sure wasn't going to.
Even after that, their murderous tendency was not quenched. They slashed across Kimberly's face twice and used a machete to dent her skull. After hacking her several times, Steve threw a blanket over her. Now, as they approached Jermaine to confirm she was dead, as she was still breathing, Gribble went over and stabbed her inside her neck and saw the blood oozing out. Towards the end, they didn't even care to check whether Jermaine was alive. They took the jewelry and escaped. After a while, Jermaine crawled out. She then called 911 and sought help before passing out. Jermaine's is a miraculous survival story. Even after taking 18 stabs and having part of the jaw missing and skull split open, she fought for her life. Gribble stated that his only regret was that he didn't kill the child because she now had to live with this, the document said. Gribble stated that if he realized that she was alive, he would have killed her.
And if I did get out, I think it is possible that I could kill again.
Jermaine struggled to come back to life and woke up after 2 weeks, but all she could remember was how the killers were white. The cult was then apprehended, putting an end to many more such horrifying cases that might have remained as a stain in the history of a tranquil town as Mount Vernon. The court gave a satisfactory verdict. Steve and Gribble were given life sentences without parole, while Marks and Glover would spend 30 to 60 years and 20 to 40 years respectively. Have you been wondering how a group of teenagers could execute such a heinous crime? Do let us know your opinions in the comment section. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and until next time, goodbye.